The story is sports and real surprising news in the NBA. If you're up in the middle of the night last night like I was, the Clippers unceremoniously parted ways with one of the best point guards of all time, Chris Paul. ESPN is reporting that the perennial all-star clashed with head coach Tyronn Lue. The two had not been on speaking terms for weeks. The team had lost 5 straight games until a win tonight in Atlanta without Chris Paul on the roster. Joining me now is Lawrence Murray. He's an NBA reporter for The Athletic. You wrote up this great article on The Athletic that sort of explains what happened here.
Yeah. First of all, it's good to be on here with you, Alex.
Yeah.
And I was up in the middle of the night. I was getting ready to write because I'm always up late. And I have this notification, and we all see it now, Chris Paul explaining that he has been told to go home. They are in Atlanta.
Yeah, he puts out this Instagram post,
right,
which basically says, I'm being told to go home. Peace. Essentially, there it is.
There it is. And mind you, that's at 2:40 a.m. local time in Atlanta, where they were set to play a game Wednesday night. Now, they won that game, but we're not going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about the departure. So you're thinking, what does this mean? Is this temporary? Is this something where he's going to not be allowed to be with the team? It's this disciplinary. And then the statement comes to me from the president of basketball operations, Lawrence Frank, saying that they are parting ways. And this is complicated as well because they are not waiving him immediately. They're not trading him. He's basically being sent home until they can work something out to relocate him.
He's being paid to do nothing.
Yeah,
essentially.
People have heard that before.
So for people that may not be big sports fans, Chris Paul is one of the great point guards of all time. He had a great run with the Clippers in the past.
Right.
They thought he might be the one guy that they ever retire his jersey. He came back to the Clippers. He said he's retiring, that this was going to be his final stop. He's not as good as he used to be, as happens when you're older. He hasn't been playing particularly great this season. But for people that know him in the past, when he was really great, he had quite a personality, right. Clashed with people. Does that hit differently when you're not as good a player?
I think it's even tougher because you know that you've done great things. You've experienced great things. You have a high standard for yourself. But when you can't quite be that player and you start losing playing time, then the next thing is, well, is it worth it? It's worth it if you're winning games. It's worth it if you're in a situation where the expectations are being met or exceeded. And that was not the case with this LA Clippers team.
Yeah, so this was the press conference where he was celebrated. It was going to be so great that Chris Paul was coming back.
Right.
So, what was happening behind the scenes? What are we talking about here in terms of those clashes?
We're talking about, first of all, this team, their first game of the season, they were down 37 points in Salt Lake City. The Utah Jazz were the worst team in basketball. So you knew right away, maybe this is not going to be as good as we thought it would be. Let's get some time. Bradley Beal was the player that they brought in to be a starter. Actually, Bradley made it so that Chris would have his number 3, right? Yeah. Well, before Bradley Beal suffered a season-ending hip injury, Chris started to get phased out of the rotation.
Yeah.
And that's where you start to go, okay, you're losing, you're starting to lose players, guys aren't healthy. And I'm sure Chris was always going to be himself.
So where does Chris Paul end up somewhere else? Some have speculated maybe Oklahoma City, a team that he played for in the past. He's very close with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP of the NBA. Could that be a place? We know that he's good friends with LeBron James, used to play with J.J. Redick, the head coach of the Lakers. Is there a place, or is Chris Paul basically just done? Is this how it ends?
This is going to be fascinating to see play out and how long it takes to play out. The Clippers can't even trade him for at least another 2 weeks. They don't want to waive him because they don't have the cap space to replace him. So when you look at Oklahoma City, first of all, they're not thinking about anything happening except that draft pick that they're going to get from the Clippers. They are 21-1. They don't have an open roster spot. They would have to get creative just to get Chris on the team. And Chris can't help them on the floor. So that might sound familiar, right?
Right. If you can't help him on the floor, you're supposed to be the great guy who's basically a coach off the floor and makes yourself valuable in the locker room. It sounds like the opposite was happening with the Clippers. Not only was he not helping, he was hurting, and that's why they decided to say, we're done. It's interesting. Real quickly, yes or no, is Giannis Antetokounmpo going to be traded? The Milwaukee Bucks.
I just hope Giannis is healthy. That injury that he suffered was very difficult to see.
Yeah.
And if he's healthy, then I think we can prepare for him to possibly not wear that uniform again.
That's crazy to think. One of the other best players in his prime, Giannis is at this point. Thanks so much for coming in. Check out his work. Lawrence Murray's at theathletic.com. More of The Story Is after this.